Damn. Like The Sims, or do you mean like sim, like simulator game? Like besides CCG store said not really. Lilith isn't that much bigger than Zelda. She's a little bit bigger, but no, I never really played those, Cal.
Is there money to be made?
Where am I going?
This ocular implant was a worthwhile investment.
Why am I... Oh.
I woke up with a feeling of wonder, as if a field of flowers was blossoming nearby. A child was saved from death.
I always keep my options open.
I hit?
Just
Unlocked.
as I planned. Miscalculations are for commoners. I don't make mistakes. I make profitable learning experiences.
That's a giant poodle, man.
Always keep your eye on the prize.
A figure in decaying tatters is rocking to and fro, muttering indistinctly in several different voices, occasionally breaking into hoarse laughter. As you come
that
closer,
sounds cute,
she
Ice.
freezes and turns slowly to look at you. An ugly, rusted mask covers her face. Are you here to take Stenna to the other side? No, 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 no.
Yep, Rage, I know.
You're just wandering around in the dark, looking for the light. But it's nowhere to be found. Do you really not see it?
There's a blood symbol next to you. I have seen such marks before. Is this another part of the song of trailing blood?
Stenna bursts into hysterical laughter. Oh yes, the song. Here, listen, listen.
I love dogs.
The woman starts chanting hurriedly. She wandered an eternity in dark, yet was consoled, wept foretold. Undying one's blood secrets glowed, a light to guide her faithful fold. But threads must end, and so the spider did that which was owed, her life and death to ship bestowed. She laughs again, and you'll see if you learn to see. Look into the darkness, look.
Peer into the darkness. I cannot fathom what I am meant to see here.
You peer into the darkness, and are gradually able to make out the outlines of objects hidden in the shadows. Rotting corpses, rough walls, the twitching death throes of infected people left here to die. You see no light in this place, only more darkness and despair.
I do like cats.
You don't see, do you? You don't see. Stenna shakes her head frantically and starts tearing off her rags. Strips of her decaying flesh peel off along with them. You will not see until you become like Stenna, the flesh and blood of this ship.
How do I become the flagship's blood?
Oh, Stenna will show you, and you'll see the true light. Come now.
Let us not dawdle.
Yikes forever.
The rotating blades promise nothing but a senseless and brutal death. Slipping past them would require some unreasonably precise calculations or blind luck. While listening to the air currents, for a moment you think you hear Stenna's whispered prayer rising from the depths of the shaft.
Oh, that's real cute. I am the champion, my friends. Do. And I'll keep on fighting till the end. Where did my friends go? They didn't follow me?
Wits about you.
They didn't jump into the giant fan like me?
Success is the only outcome I accept.
That's real cute.
There are
guys.
large holes in the compartment ceiling. The spinners have dismantled the bulkheads to expand their temple ever higher.
I always have a backup plan.
Oh, I have no fucking clue where I'm going. I have no fucking clue where I'm going.
Is there money to be made?
Oh yeah, directionally challenged rock gets directionally challenged.
Dominated, the Undying One has whispered that you would honor the Temple of Death with a visit. We are ready to serve you.
Always keep your eye on the prize. That's how it's done.
On my way, dude.
The death cultist bores his head reverently.
Jade! What's up, friend? How's work, friend? Dude.
I always keep my options open.
Where the fuck am I going?
The Undying Emperor holds out his hands to all his children, offering them the highest reward, a worthy death.
Let us not dawdle. I'll learn from this mistake. I won't let it define me. Failure is just a temporary setback. I'll learn from this mistake. I
Well,
will
wait,
lead us
dude.
to fortune. I won't stand for it.
I don't get what I'm doing.
There are large holes in the compartment ceiling. The spinners have dismantled the bulkheads to expand their temple ever higher.
I always have a backup plan.
Dominated, the Undying One has whispered that you would honor the Temple of Death with a visit. We are ready to serve you.
Keep your wits about you.
Dominakida, the Undying One has whispered that you would honor the Temple of Death with a visit. We are ready to serve you.
What do your life choices have to do with this person? You know what I mean? It's none of their fucking business. Fucking A, man.
Always keep your eye on the prize.
It's yeah, that's really stupid, Jade. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Rage. Can I climb this ladder?
Rise to the top or get left
fuck?
in the dust.
That was weird.
Tangles of improvised bridges constructed from beams and flooring stretch ever higher, not unlike a web. The temple is growing, as if it were a living organism.
Is there money to be made?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like, that's so inappropriate. Oh yeah, Rage. It is very much like, I'll talk to my boss because we're kind of friends, but like, other than that, but I don't talk to him about most things. Like, I talked to him about when I was going through my divorce and everything like that, but because my work was suffering for sure, but
Cold stone sarcophagi serve as the death cultists' beds. The bones of their deceased comrades are their bedding.
I always keep my options open.
Dominakida, the Undying One has whispered that you would honor the Temple of Death with a visit. We are ready to serve you. Underneath the ancient relic is a stone plaque with an inscription carved in elegant cursive. If you value life above duty, you are not worthy of life. Vizier Gia Franus. A frail old man, grey beard tinged with blood, folds his wrinkled hands in a ritual gesture. His body is covered in scars, some old, some fresh. His eyes are sewn tightly shut. His mouth is cleft at both corners, making his jaw seem eerily snake-like.
Yeah, that's crazy,
and the Lord
Jay.
of the Ark walked the paths of life, in the footsteps of the web's very first spinner. And the servants of death bowed before him, for the Domin is the giver of life. The old man goes still, his head turned to the side. He nods toward the temple's muffled silence. Yes, yes, truth like a stream pours from your lips. We welcome him as the tenets demand. Your hues are almost as pale as the grey of your beard. But what is this? Cassir flinches and takes a shuddering breath. A scarlet whirlwind shines through the faded colors. A servant of death who sees beyond the threshold. A spider who spins a cocoon at the end of his thread. Idira shakes her head and clutches her temples. Sorry about that. It just came over me. I didn't say anything too weird, did I? A thin blade appears in the old man's trembling hands. Although his arms are stiff and look like they can barely bend, in the next instant the dynasty symbol is etched on his forehead, dripping blood. With a brief motion, he flicks the blood off his blade, and several drops land on your face. The blood-spun web welcomes its new lord. I am the Vizier. For many years we have waited, and now you are here. We have waited, whispers echo his words from the shadows.
Why is it you have invited me here?
Death whispered your name and commanded us to honor you with a sacred ritual, but only inside the temple can the spinners perform it. The Vizier is suddenly distracted by someone invisible, and nods toward empty space. Yes, we are glad he has reached this place. We are glad to serve.
Yep, Jade. Vizier, is that some sort of title?
It is the name we give to the first spinner, the one who has learnt the wisdom of the tenets of the web in order to lead others. I may have a duty to instruct and spin bloody threads, but in all other ways I am as much his servant and yours as anyone else in this temple.
How did you manage to erect an entire temple in the middle of the ship without anyone noticing?
Followers of the cult once inhabited the tunnels between the bay's bulkheads, until the threads of fate were tangled and a domin of ages past gave us this compartment.
That's why they're also
we set
fucking
ourselves
angry,
to building
Rage.
spacious halls where the shadows, the images of him, and the spinners themselves would whisper of death. And thus the temple that you see began to change with the succession of Viziers and the cult's generations. We are building it still, slowly but surely.
I've walked the path of the matriarch spider. What now?
The Song of Trailing Blood tells of a path fraught with trials. By accepting it and setting out on that path, you pass the first one, the trial of resolve. For not everyone is prepared to shun their fear and doubt and embark on a search for the unknown, a search for death. The trial of compassion was the second one. You passed it when you put yourself, albeit briefly, in the service of another soul, a man suffering from burns. For the choice between life and death is to be made only by those willing to take responsibility for the pain of another. The third was the trial of justice. In assuming the role of judge for an apostate of our faith, you declared your right to influence the balance of life and death that the errant soul had upset. And the fourth was the trial of duty, for duty always leads to death. We are prepared to render our duty to the undying one, fearless and accepting of our purpose, which is to serve him. You, too, have proven yourself prepared, and the 4 trials have brought you here.
The path I've walked has helped me understand myself better.
For the tenets teach us that the lesson learned is in itself the supreme reward for one who is open to self-discovery. The Vizier Sonshut I seem to peer into your face, studying it. Then he turns away and speaks into empty space again. Peace, my brother, the time has almost come.
I see your eyes are sewn shut. Are you blind, or is that of the cult's rituals?
I was sighted for much of my life, until a disciple of mine violated the tenets and I realized just how blind I had been. A lesson, but a bitter one. To look with one's eyes alone is to be easily fooled, but the heart cannot be lied to. Such is the truth, and such was my choice. I sealed my eyelids with a geas of true sight. Now I see more, and better.
Who is it you talk to all the time?
The Vizier turns his head as if looking around the temple. I see echoes of those who came before us and those who were with us, but have since crossed over to the other side. My brothers and sisters raised by the cult. I hear them from beyond their depths. They share their wisdom. I heed them. The other spinners, they hear not.
But like,
for that
dude,
burden is mine to
you're
bear.
a manager at a grocery store. You're not like fucking
A smile graces
a
the Vizier's
CEO
bluish
of
lips.
Microsoft.
The tenets command us to be prepared for all trials, corporeal and spiritual alike. Are you prepared, Dominator? His mouth closes, but you can still hear his whisper. A prickling sensation in your face is making you increasingly anxious. You raise a hand to your cheek, only to realize you can't feel it. You look at your palm and see a few smudged drops of blood from the Vizier's blade. A strange, serene calm envelops your body. Your fatigue subsides and you seem to float in the air, seeing things you had not noticed before, the shadows in the corners taking on shape and color, the subdued lumen light playing on the cultists' bone masks. Are they really masks? They're tall, lean, empty-eyed wearers might as well be dead people. A chill runs down your spine.
What is the meaning of this?
Your heart is beating slowly, your breathing has become deeper, and your thoughts are muddled. You seem to be under the influence of a potent stimulant.
Look around the temple.
One moment, the walls of Death's Sanctum grow infinitely wide. The next, they are so narrow as to make it hard to breathe. The floor dances under your feet, and the undying Emperor's statue seems to shake its head threateningly as it looks down upon you. The Vizier nods meekly. My blood is infused with a concoction taken by those who follow the thread. It is sacred and harmless to us, but you it befogs and afflicts. And yet, Dominator, you have grasped that the mind may fail the body and the senses. This was the trial of spiritual acumen. You have passed it.
And what happens now?
That is for you to tell me. You look at the Vizier, and his trembling frame seems small and insignificant. A single step is all it would take to crush him, but the visions are starting to wear off, and now the old man towers over you. The keen gaze of his sealed eyes is studying your every movement,
Jade.
waiting for a response.
Now you're going to initiate me as a servant of death.
A servant of death. hiss the echoing whispers from the temple, and the vizier bows his head reverently. You have become the blood of the flagship. Now you will become one of his faithful servants. We may not name you a spinner, for a spinner's thread demands the forsaking of one's previous life, but the blood-spun web will still accept you. The tenets allow it, but only for a domin who has followed the trailing blood until the end.
No, that is... And that's the kind of more... I bet that idiot voted for Trump too, Jade. People that are so stupid that they're being manipulated by capitalism. Yeah, I know, Ice.
Upon the ritual platform, at the Undying Emperor's feet, under the keen gaze of his dark, empty eye sockets, you feel completely insignificant. Surprisingly, the thick blood pouring from his hands onto your brow, chest, and shoulders is still warm.
Yep.
Bowed before his image, the vizier assumes the ceremonial postures with incredible ease, his withered body moving swiftly and soundlessly. You are slowly plunged into darkness to the sound of ritual chants and swishing blades. Amid the noise of splashing blood and the cultist's whispers you hear the words, "Death has spoken your name, Dominacida. Death accepts you."
Offer a prayer to the Undying Emperor.
Each word consecrated to him echoes in your temples and chest. Your veins become hot, and your blood turns to liquid flame. You have no fear in you. A whisper seems to come from above, from the Emperor's lips of stone. "I see you." Could the lingering intoxication still be playing tricks on your mind? The strange rash you developed in the freight line's pestilence pit grows pale and scabs over. A healing grace descends upon you. The vizier's voice grows suddenly thunderous and snaps you out of your reflect irons. Death has accepted you, Dominacida. Now and for all of time, you are the Blood Warden and the Undying One's most venerable servant.
It felt as if the God Emperor was watching me.
To many, he comes during their time of service, in images of blood and whispers from the shadows. But remember that those are mere visions. For true death will not come for you until your time, and it will take your soul gently in its bony hands.
Blood Warden, very flattering. I will add it to my other titles.
Now that you are part of the blood-spun web, remember henceforth to beware of vanity, for it leaves gaping rents in the armor of our souls.
So the ritual is complete?
The ritual is complete, but you are not. The vizier gestures for one of the cultists, who is carefully holding a strange garment, to come closer.
Tilly!
For years, we have maintained fealty to the Dominant. We have collected sacred symbols and relics. You are the first in 3 generations of lords and ladies to grace this sanctum, and the first of them all to be initiated so. We are grateful. We are uplifted in spirit. Hear our exaltation and accept this gift of a vestment sewn from the bones of his faithful with the threads of death.
How's the stream, Tilly?
The cultists whisper prayers to the Undying One as they help you change your clothes and regain your faculties. A crimson torrent flows from the statue's hands, a symbol of the countless deaths offered up in his name.
Hey, leveled. Okay. Okay. Lobster, lobster, lobster raid! Toughness. Okay. Vibin', vibin', vibin'. She's gonna be the first one I get rid of, by the way. Does it not want me to have that one? Okay. Vibing. We want weapon skill. Cool. How do I get out of here is my next question.
5 generations of spinners have guarded this relic so that it may serve the worthiest of the Domini. Its time has come.
So there's another chest over here somewhere. Death cultist. It looked like, isn't there? Yeah. Yep.
I always have a backup plan.
Here. Okay.
The shrouded faith of the blood-spun web. It is both frightening and awe-inspiring. A spinner, his face covered in carved, bleeding GLYPHS, makes a respectful gesture of invitation. Let me show you the way, Domin.
Show me the way. Okay, we're gonna go back to the... We're gonna go to the bridge. Oh, you're good, Tilly. I hope you had a wonderful stream. What were you playing today? Dude, I like this game. I don't know how much longer I could stream this game. It is like kind of slow, which is not something, I don't know.
Lord Captain, sorry to disturb you. Victus pauses, as if listening to something.
This is like
it's
the fifth
pandemonium
time I've
outside the
stopped.
bridge gate. One of the officers seems to be demanding an audience with you in person. I think I hear Master Viserian's voice. In any case, I wanted to warn you in advance.
Dude, dates plus bacon are so amazing. It's really good, but it's just like, it's overwhelming. Overwhelming is the right word for it. It's a lot. Like, I wanna romance you. Oh, that sounds really good. Dude, this game doesn't want me to pick what I want to do. It just keeps going like, oh, we're going to interrupt you again.
The everyday sounds of the bridge are disrupted by voices raised in anger. Abelard's voice the loudest of all. This is not the conduct of an officer. These are the antics of a highborn brat out on a lark. Explain yourself, Lieutenant. The young woman standing before Abelard strives with all her might not to quail under the onslaught of her superior's anger. She falters but then manages to look him in the eye and say, I apologize, sir, but I must speak to the Lord Captain. Very well, Lieutenant. You may address the Lord Captain, not least because I see you have already seen fit to disturb him. Your unauthorized appearance on the bridge and display of belligerence toward a higher-ranking officer will be logged on your personal file without delay. Lord Captain, Lieutenant Avril Vent, requesting permission to speak. Vent falls silent, and then adds rashly, on a matter of extreme importance and urgency.
I will listen to what you have to say. Speak, Lieutenant.
This matter cannot wait. Any minute now,
sounds
an
really
assault
good.
unit will be dispatched to the lower decks on orders to crush the workers' strike by any means necessary. But I am convinced that this step is unwarranted, and that the crisis itself was provoked by the actions of one of the senior officers. Vent is almost trembling with tension as she delivers her speech, her face extremely pale. Abelard, in no hurry to intervene, lets out a skeptical huff. He glances at Sourback, who is standing not far from him, but she maintains a stony expression. Lord Captain, I urge you to investigate the actions of Seneschal the Syrian, and to intervene in what's happening on the lower decks, because very soon we will have a mutiny or a massacre on our hands. Vent reels off the last words as though she knows them by heart. She has clearly been preparing to say them for some time. When she is finished, she casts an anxious glance at Abelard, then at you.
I mean, that's what this is. It's the text-to-speech for, like, the robot voices that... How did this all start?
The situation could boil over at any minute, so I'll give you the condensed version. It all began when the enforcers found a cultist amulet on the body of someone who'd been killed in a drunken brawl. We reported it up the chain immediately, arranged for a cleansing rite to be performed, and opened an investigation. No heretics have been found alive, but the search has brought tensions between enforcers and workers to a head.
Where does Seneschal, where Syrian come into all this?
I shall explain, Abelard intones grimly. I beg you to hurry, time is running out. I will not hurry. Since my competence is under scrutiny, I shall speak for as long as I see fit. There is an established order to the way things are done on this ship, and one of the pillars of that system is that the rogue trader's attention is not distracted by trivial matters. It is the Seneschal's role to ensure that. I have always handled internal problems myself, so, of course, when I received information about cultists hiding on the lower decks, I took the matter in hand. So long as I live, not one of the vermin who murdered Theodora von Valancius will find refuge on her ship. You were far too heavy-handed, Seneschal the Syrian. Arrests, interrogations, mass punishments for entire sectors. It has driven the people to the brink, Vent says bitterly. Now there is a strike on the lower decks, in Depot 4, to be precise. 3 worker clans are involved, but many more are passively supporting them. The situation could degenerate into an all-out insurrection, but when I reported my concerns, the only response I received was an order to dispatch an assault unit and crush the strike with maximum force.
What is Depot 4?
Depot 4 is one of the poorest sectors on the lower decks. It is home to clans of general laborers. They are not as valuable to the ship as the families who have served its specialist systems for generations.
What game were you playing today,
They are an
Tilly?
easily replaceable resource, and one which is now, more besides, giving succor to cultists and minions of the archenemy. Depot 4 is poor and troubled, but at worst that means drunken fights and illegal rock-up brewing. We have handled the workers of Depot 4 in the past. We would have done so again, if the crackdown on Depot 4 hadn't been so harsh. And another important point to bear in mind, the problem is not limited to this sector. It is located on one of the most populated lower decks, and
Oh, the
everything
new
that
one or
happens
the
there has a
original?
knock-on effect on all the neighboring sectors.
Oh, okay. I haven't played it. Master at Arms, the ship's enforcers report to you, and yet you seem hesitant to provide your own perspective.
Lord Captain, unlike Lieutenant Vent, I respect the chain of command and realize that it is not within my right to challenge my superiors. Sourback bores her head in Abelard's direction. However, a moment later, a serpentine smile appears on her lips. That being said, while I entirely share Master Viserian's opinion on what fate Depot 4 deserves, I must note that this insubordination is a direct consequence of practices that he himself has introduced. Mistress Sourback, I see you have decided to follow the Lieutenant's example after all. Such behavior does you no credit.
Abelard, dude, this game makes me feel dumb because, like, saying these names out loud is fucking insane. Abelard, do you wish to respond?
Mistress Sourback, can you recall an occasion where I would encourage an officer to disobey their superior, or one where I would overrule their order, or show favoritism to those who merited none? None, Seneschal, for there have been no such cases in the entire time I have served aboard this ship. If anyone were to claim otherwise, I would have them pay for insulting your honor with blood. Your conduct in this regard have always been spotless. Nevertheless, given your eminent position, a simple show of attention on your part is enough to erode the propriety of junior officers, inflate their sense of self-importance, and undermine discipline. That you distinguish some of them and know them by name is tantamount to walking around the officers' deck handing out gifts to officers who have caught your eye. It fills those you set apart with ambition and audacity, makes them stand out among the rest. Enforcers are meant to be faceless servants, fighters ready to die, their fate entrusted to their commander and no one else. That is the sole foundation of order.
I see.
Evidently, my officers are anything but a shining example of unity and adherence today. I have only myself to blame, I suppose.
Abelard, what do you have to say about all this?
I see no need to add anything. I acted within the remit of my authority, guided exclusively by the best interests of your protectorate and your personal safety. If you wish to confirm the rectitude of my actions for yourself, I have no object. For my part, I urge the Lord Captain to go down to the lower decks, stop the assault unit, and speak directly to the people. You will see that they are not lying, or harboring heretics. That way, you will stop the uprising before it begins.
I've heard enough. I will go down to the lower decks and deal with the problem personally.
Praise the Emperor. Vent cannot contain her relief. Thank you, Lord Captain. Abelard grits his teeth slightly, an enterprise bordering on the sophomoric, but please yourself, Lord Captain. However, I categorically insist that... Lord Captain, I regret that the enforcers were unable to handle the situation, which then led to your and the Seneschal's involvement. I consider it my duty to go to depot for myself and see to the expedient resolution of this incident.
After just playing New Vegas, there's so much that love with New Vegas, and I haven't played Fallout 3 in a while. I haven't played Fallout 3 since it came out, but like, there are lots of problems with that. Like, that game's ending was the dumbest shit ever. I mean, the whole like, oh yeah, you have to have DLC to get the ending. Hey, it's Wursarian. Take that scum. What? The motherfucker just attack us?
Abelard reflexively wipes the sweat from his brow in a startlingly human gesture, and a telling one, a rare moment where he allows his age and weariness to show through his armor-like veneer of self-assurance. The lower decks are a source of endless problems. Sometimes I dearly regret that we cannot replace all the locals with servitors.
Okay, yeah, we need to get to the bottom of this.
Something resembling a nest made out of thermal insulation material. This must be where the workers sleep between shifts.
Always keep your eye on the prize.
Tilly, what do you think is going to end up being your game of the year?
Inside the box, a string of scratched letters runs along the edge, different first names but the same surname. It looks like this box has been passed down in the family from generation to generation.
Rise to the top, or get left in the dust.
Emperor save us and keep us, this is depressing.
Dude, that game has gone through a lot, man. I mean, especially with the, like... They better get it out before fucking Trump gets into office and Ukraine stops being fucking existing, which is so fucking horrifying.
Relax, old man. Going for a stroll on the lower deck.
The sounds of a heated discussion reverberate through the ship's bays. Lieutenant Avril Event of the ship's enforcers is barring the path of her superior, Master-at-Arms Jocasta Sourback, who has arrived clad in armor. Judging by their expressions and tone, the standoff has dragged on for some time already and has now reached boiling point. Lieutenant Vent, my patience is wearing thin. I have given you an order, now get out of my way. I cannot comply with that order. Vent looks shaken, but there is fire in her eyes. This is my deck and my sector. So long as this area remains under the Lord Captain's special oversight, no action can be taken without my express permission.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there might not be Ukraine in 3 months because of fucking Trump. Himself.
So not all my lessons fall on deaf ears. Abelard mutters in crabby approval. He does not clarify whether he means Vent, Sourback looming over her, or both. Your lordship, noticing you, the two officers snap to attention and salute, their subordinates following suit a moment later.
Okay. I want to speak with the strikers.
Abelard's mouth twists, but he restrains himself and says no. Right you are, Lord Captain. Allow me to wish you good luck. Hope gleams in Lieutenant Vent's eyes. We won't stand for it anymore. Wow. A dozen pairs of eyes stare apprehensively at you. The people before you are typical inhabitants of the lower decks. You take in their simple clothing, crude weapons, and faces that display varying levels of mutation, from the barely discernible, to the strange, to the outright grotesque. A whisper passes through the crowd, and you detect a mixture of fear, astonishment, and joy in their reactions. Finally, 3 people break away from the crowd, an elderly woman and 2 men. These must be the leaders. They bow clumsily before you. Lord Captain, you have come down to us.
Tell me what is troubling you. Why are you striking?
Striking? That's news to us, your lordship, says a tall, thin man in worker's garb. All we're doing is asking questions, saying what we think.
Yeah.
Shut up, Rivet, snaps the old woman, who turns her hostile dark eyes on you. Here's the deal, your lordship. Your damned enforcers are all over us down here. They say they are looking for cultists. One wrong word and they are reaching for their batons. If they want to punish someone, they turn off the heating to whole base for a week at a time, so we get sick and freeze. In my clan, 2 little ones died from inflammation in their lungs, all because of those enforcers. The old woman spits on the floor and rubs at the spittle with the toe of her worn-out shoe. Argenta does not interrupt the workers, but you see the sadness well in her eyes when the children's deaths are mentioned. She quietly whispers a requiem prayer and makes a sign over herself. It's all true. Vent is the only enforcer officer who stood up for us. It's clear as day who had a mother from the lower decks, and who grew up amidships and has no fellow feeling toward us. The grim man with a scarred face throws up his arms. Your lordship, we're no villains here. We're honest workers, your servants. We plotted no disorder. We went on strike openly, and now we've got guns pointed at us. All we're doing is asking to be allowed to work in peace, without being harassed.
We were attacked on the way here. How do you explain that?
Here's an explanation for you. The people have been pushed to their limit, and now they are lashing out. As if we don't know why these top deck units are being sent down here, like that one there that the lieutenant won't let past. Our clans are all inside the bay that's been sealed off, but the lower decks are big. I'm sure there are some people who've had just about enough. We're getting it from all sides. The soldiers have encircled the ones who've risen up. A death squad has just arrived. It's no wonder folks are lashing out. Their words seem sincere to you. Their body language and the glances traded between them reveal that the news of the attack has shocked them.
What changes do you want?
Would you look at this? The exalted Lord Captain himself is asking us bilge rats what we want. Well, here's what. We want you to rein in your damned enforcers, to quit turning off the heat, and to stop battering everything that moves. No, that's not it. We want the enforcers gone from here, and we want to be armed. Give us arms, and we'll govern ourselves. We'll defend ourselves if these cultists do show their faces. I've been leader of my clan for 20 years now. Getting rid of these club-wielding thugs can only improve things around here. You've gone too far, old Nan. They'll never let the maggots on the lower decks live without the enforcers breathing down their necks. They probably even insist on enforcers on the upper decks too. As for weapons, what do we need them for? Before the first day's out, we'll have someone shooting their neighbor out of stupidity or drunkenness. We don't need that. If the enforcers stop hassling us, that'll be enough. In return, we'll find the scavengers who rob the cultists' bodies, and we'll talk to them, one lower decker to another. If there are any more of those damned amulets about, we'll hand them over to the enforcers ourselves. You speak for yourself and your clan, and I'll speak for me and mine. I don't want empty gestures, I want real change. They'll promise us the world now, but as soon as the Anointed One turns his back, these brutes will be on us even harder than before, all because we dared to speak out. The tall worker's eyes dart between the 2 arguing leaders. Every few seconds, he opens his mouth as if planning to agree, but each time he falls silent, simply making a few vague noises of approval.
Spreading anarchy on the ship is the first step towards embracing chaos. Putting weapons in the untrained hands would be even worse. What's more, the enforcers are needed to maintain oversight and order. Withdraw these demands and we would consider the rest. What does this thing mean? Master Arms, where do you stand?
Give the rabble a grox, and they will take an agri-world, Lord Captain. They only understand brute force and will interpret any concession as a sign of weakness. Giving them weapons and recalling the enforcers would be folly. It would only be a matter of time before we had a full-scale mutiny on our hands.
Thoughts, Abelard?
The story about going scavenging for boots and accidentally picking up a heretical amulet doesn't convince me. These people were moments away from rebelling and, possibly, becoming minions of the archenemy. We must not give them what they want. Even if they did acquire something innocently, purely out of their own stupidity, that does not mean they are not tainted with corruption. What begins as petty thievery can turn into a far graver problem. I have seen it before. Abelard's face darkens momentarily. In my second war, there was a sergeant in the Imperial Guard regiment that was stationed nearby. The sergeant took an ordinary pocket knife from the body of a heretic, and his whole unit lost their lives for it. When they finally managed to break into the barracks, they found not a single survivor, only the pocket knife, which had grown through all the rows of beds like a metal-choking vine. So, when it comes to scavengers, malcontents, strikers, or whatever they'll turn into next, my verdict is simple: give them no quarter. The tall worker they call Rivet shrugs and casts a sidelong look at the old woman. Old Nan, listen, listen. The Lord Captain himself has come down to us and is offering concessions. And I don't know a single person in the whole of Depot 4 who's ever stood next to the rogue trader, let alone talk to them. Back down. Now's no time for you to be a stubborn old crone. Listen to us, Old Nan. The 3 clans of Depot 4 ought to act as one. We've made our minds up. It's your turn to decide. Don't ask them to disband the enforcers or give us weapons. We don't need any of that. The old woman hisses in dissatisfaction. You two are ganging up on me, is that it? So brave you are against an old woman. But I'll shut up. I will, indeed. I won't go against 2 clan leaders on my own. If you want to make peace with the enforcers, make your peace. That's great, just fantastic. Lord Captain, we're all agreed.
Okay, then it's decided the persecution will stop, and I will expect you to assist in locating any remaining amulets or weapons left by the cultists.
Your lordship, thank you. You have not abandoned us lower deckers. You came yourself and settled everything. I'll tell my grandchildren about this. Of course, your lordship. We'll root out any nasty business faster than the enforcers, and we'll leave no stone unturned.
There you go.
Let us know, door.
Fucking. Don't make me kill you all, because I can do it still. Ugh. The life of a leader, man. The life of a leader.
Stopping unexpectedly, Abelard imperiously dismisses the unit to stand at a distance, and addresses your other companions, saying, I have an urgent matter to discuss with the Lord Captain. Please give us a moment. Abelard looks at you, and his last vestiges of restraint vanish. Well, are you pleased with your investigation, Lord Captain? You kowtowed to the disloyal rabble. You believed their lies and showed them leniency. Next time the ship is attacked by cultists, that rabble will welcome them in with open arms and allow them to wreak whatever havoc they like, because they see you as a weak leader. Is that how you see your future at the helm of the von Valencius Protectorate?
Let's talk about your role in all this instead. You allowed this revolt to happen. Your actions practically guaranteed it would.
I would have handled the situation myself had you not decided to intervene, Abelard says irascibly. Remember Lord Captain Theodora. Do you think she ever set one slippered foot on the lower decks? No, she did not. Such matters were left to myself and the junior officers while she dedicated herself to her grand designs for the Protectorate, as any true strategist and rogue trader ought.
Maybe if Theodora had spent more time on trifling matters, she wouldn't have wound up dead. There's a new Lord Captain aboard the ship now, and I will not repeat her mistake.
Abelard looks at you, stunned, and exhales loudly. Then he nods curtly. I commend your decisiveness, but I am uncomfortable with introducing new protocols in the midst of a crisis. And Abelard stands straight at attention. I lost my temper, Lord Captain, and I believe I ought to explain myself. Abelard speaks slowly, the words not coming easily to him. The prosperity of the von Valancius Protectorate is not just an empty phrase to me. I left the Imperial Navy for the chance to see it flourish. It was the most momentous decision of my life. I did it because I saw in Lord Captain Theodora's deeds the sign of true greatness. Rogue traders do not simply forge new routes and capture worlds. They create order out of anarchy. That creative impulse was entirely lacking during my time in the military. So I left behind everything I had known, everything my family had known. I come from a long line of officers, and I embarked upon this incredibly reckless venture. Lord Captain Theodora entrusted me with all the concerns she had no time for. She would go off on her flagship for long periods, to distant frontiers, on scouting voyages, and the advancement of the entire protectorate rested on my shoulders. And then suddenly, everything that had been built over years and years began to quake, rattling like a flimsy hangar on a seismically active world. One of the senior officers betrayed us all, the rogue trader was killed, and who knows what is happening on the planets. I tell you this honestly, without fear of appearing weak. All this has come as a grievous blow to me. I am not panicking or grieving because I cannot allow myself to panic or grieve. I am duty-bound to aid the new rogue trader, to aid you, to find your footing as quickly as possible. And to do that, I must insulate you from problems that in the past have been dealt with by tried and tested procedures set out in the ship's regulations. Procedures that were established long ago and have functioned smoothly for decades cannot suddenly be deemed excess to requirements. Abelard solemnly inclines his head. Yes, Lord Captain. After a moment's silence, he adds, looking at you with interest, your resolve is admirable and demonstrates strong leadership. I shall remember this moment, should my old habits ever begin to creep back in. And now, please, let us leave the lower decks. If the rogue trader desires to stretch his legs, there are far more suitable places.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Here's Zelda just demanding pets and scratches. Zelda out here demanding pets and scratches. She's like right here. The pood. Yeah, I through all the cult stuff. I'm part of the blood whatever. Okay. Let me check my stuff and then I'll wrap up stream.
I refuse.
Where's this go? Oh. I don't know, man. Right, not like a wiener.